U.S. President Donald Trump this week said in an interview that he might order another round of strikes against terrorist elements operating on Nigerian territory following what he called the unrelenting attacks against Christians in the country. Well, in a wide-ranging interview with the New York Times, Trump was asked whether the Christmas Day strikes in Nigeria's northern Sokoto state targeting Islamic militants were part of a broader military strategy and campaign. Well, his response, and I quote, "I'd love to make it a one-time strike, but if they continue to kill Christians, it will be a many-time strike," end quote. Nigeria's government has rejected Trump's earlier accusations that it is failing to protect Christians from jihadist attacks, saying that Muslims, Christians, and those of no faith alike are targeted. Well, Dr. Fidel Agaba Iduh is a security and crime management professional. He joins us now to critique this development, as well as offer his thoughts on how Nigeria can begin to get a stronger grip on these current struggles that we're having with insecurity. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So we see that the U.S. president gave us a Christmas present to the terrorists, dropping a attack in Sokoto State as a direct response to the killing from Christians. The framing that has been going around this discussion, especially with the focus of the attacks on Christians, does this help or hinder the discussions and the efforts on ground to promote peace?
Well, thank you very much. The response and the actualization of what the President of the United States said, and he actually carried out, well, it's a good development for the insecurity and the national security of the country. It's unfortunate that we have to get to this point before finding ourselves for another country to intervene and help us out. Remember that it is not only Christians that are suffering these attacks from the bandits and the terrorists. The Muslims, the Christians, other citizens in the country have been affected. So if we couldn't help ourselves and we're overwhelmed, and the citizens have long cried out, and there has to be an external invasion or intervention, so be it. If that will guarantee our lasting peace that we have long desired. And I think Trump have done it well. It has also sent a very good signal to the Lakurawas and the ISIS from that axis in the northwest. And you can see from the feelers we are getting and the intelligence, the few that have survived, despite the casualties, they are running away and then regrouping. But again, we will need more of these interventions. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Iduh, when you say that we need more of these interventions, are you basically expressing support for what Trump seems to be suggesting, that if Christians are still being killed, that there will be many more strikes? What many people are saying is that, yes, interventions are good, collaborations with partners like the American government, are good, but then what was the outcome of the strike in Sokoto on Christmas Day? Trump hasn't explained. No Nigerian government has explained in detail the achievement of that strike. But then since then, almost 3 weeks after that strike, we know that bandits and terrorists have returned to Niger State. They struck in Borno State since that time. Kwara is still being affected. And Oyo, part of Oyo is now also, in the Sadu. And we say that we are making progress. So how, therefore, will you assess the intervention that America is bringing? And what do you think that we are still not getting right if all these armed attacks are still being carried out? particularly since Christmas Day, that the American government worked with Nigeria to attack terrorist sites in Sokoto State?
Okay, thank you. Remember that, recall that the present administration inherited this challenge, insecurity challenge. It's been there with us. We've been battling with it, crying loud, both to the international communities and within the continent. So it's not something that just occurred just within the Christmas period. It spread from the northeast down there, the Lakurawas and all that. Now, the outcome or the benefits of this strike is that you don't expect it also to end under just one strike. Spreading to across to the places you've just mentioned, like we are having some relative peace to an extent from the Sokoto axis and Zamfara axis, and this is made possible because of the body language and the resolute commitments of the Nigerian President Tinubu. Before and after the strike, the warning signals that came from Trump before the strike or the intervention was very clear, and that to an extent, made the president to sit up with resolute commitment and decision, and with core mandate to the Defense Ministry and the Minister of Defense to ensure that these people are chased and crushed to the later. The then Minister of Defense, Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, came also anchored on the directives from the President in collaboration with the synergy from other security agencies, the Office of the NSA coordinating the armed forces under the supervision of the Minister of Defense, the likes of His Excellency Bello Metawale, who has done great to that effect. So the government of the country, Nigeria, is also not resting on Israel collaboratively, because this war cannot be fought just by government or one entity. It requires a holistic approach and a collaborative effort. So if the Western communities are coming to join forces towards, apart from intervention, towards striking, they need to enhance intelligence. They need to also boost capacity, and then for this government to acquire more equipment that will strengthen this fight is a welcome development. Recall that these things is not only within the northwest zone of the country. Like you mentioned, the southwest, these things have this spray and they have their network. Of course, you cannot completely separate it from sabotage and what have you. If you recall, between 2023 and 2024, down to part of 2025, the Honorable Minister of State for Defense, Bello Metawale, has been able to, being a former governor who understands the terrains within the northwest, was able to collaborate with the Office of the NSA and the Defense military setup to ensure that those militants and their commanders across that axis were crushed. You recall from records, we had about 8,000 of them. They were totally displaced. We had about 12,000 bandits, terrorists, and kidnappers also being displaced and apprehended. There were recoveries of about 10,000 arms, all from that axis. And we must give it to him. And since the president also charged them the more, expecting them to do the more, the man has not rested in his oars. He has been able to secure several other, support in terms of MOU that he recently signed with Saudi Arabia, all under this administration's commitment and, towards ensuring that they give their own internal, support towards ensuring that this things is, brought to the later. So the government of the country is doing its own, but it's not enough. We need such interventions and support to ensure that this challenge is nipped on the bud.
Fair enough. And, you know, a lot of discussion or what the report says is that this was a joint operation based on shared intelligence between the Nigerian army and military and the U.S. Now, Donald Trump's rhetoric suggests a more unilateral policeman of the globe type approach. Now, how does Nigeria balance that in terms of our sovereignty, the need for U.S. military hardware and intelligence and technology, with the risk of appearing to lose our backbone, our sovereignty? How do we balance that?
Well, again, we will give it to the government of the day. The president, through the Defense Ministry and the coordinating office of the NFC, within this little period that the current Minister of State have served, and the Defense Ministry, now having the former Chief of Defense Staff as the current Defense Minister, working in collaboration with these other organizations, the NSA and what the other agencies as mentioned. You recall that the passage of the DICON Act has also strengthened our internal manufacturing and production capacity, which also reduced reliance on external procurement from the Western world, thereby addressing the issue of delay and logistics and what have you, and cost implications. The DICON also, with the setting up of the industrial complex, defense industrial complex, in collaboration with working in partnership with NASENI, is also helping in that regard. Invariably, the internal production and internal production of these items, you know, military equipments, wares, kits and what have you, will help to also kit up our personnel and boost their morale, because procurement for one item of these items have also been a very big challenge. The period to, you know, to place orders, receive them, and what have you. With these interventions by the current defense, ministers, and then coordinated by the office of the NSA, and then given by the support they are getting from the president to ensure that provisions are made to ensure that this industry setup well funded and they are operating, is a welcome development in that regard. More so that the current minister has also not stopped. He has strengthened diplomatic relationship, to help boost the capacity of our force, the defense. He has strengthened such diplomatic ties with the Chinese government, the Turkish government, and even the USA towards ensuring that these supports are given, and also to enhance our training capacity and boosting our intelligence within the armed forces. So it's a good one. We need more of such collaborations, and it's yielding good results. And to that effect, of course, recently the minister also acquired some long-distance surveillance coastal equipment to help in that regard towards addressing the piracy, the oil theft, and proliferation of small arms through the coastal line. And I think it's a good development for the country.
All right, Dr. Iduh, before we let you go, it sounds to me like you have so much faith in the defense ministry, and you seem to be speaking quite glowingly about them. You mentioned the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, as having done well, signing MOUs and things like that. But I'm afraid that many people might disagree with you, given that Mr. Matawalle, when he was governor in his state, didn't seem to score very high in the opinion of many people. This is a gentleman who once said that many bandits are not necessarily terrorists. And people saw that as a way of deodorizing a very bad situation, you know, that, and then when he now became the co-minister for defense, a lot of people have been asking that, what is he still doing there when the substantive minister, Badaru Abubakar, had to leave so that the former CDS can take his place as the defense minister. Why do you seem to have so much faith in the Ministry of Defense when a lot of people are saying that we can't see the result satisfactorily because everything that people are complaining about keep happening?
Well, thank you so much. One of the things we do in our own climb here is that when good things, when there are testimonies and achievements, we don't seem to applaud our leaders. I have never met the Minister of Defense. I'm a professional. I'm speaking also as a core, security expert. The truth is that what transpired when he was a governor cannot be the same with the mandate he's being given as a Minister of Defense. While as a governor, he must have been overwhelmed to an extent, or probably the kind of policies and principles that programs he put in place to address the issue of banditry in Zamfara State, trying to use internal mechanism and consultations to suppress it may not work the same way it is at the federal level. Remember that he has taken a bigger responsibility beyond the state. He was just a governor of a state then. And then the situation has escalated. So whatever he did as a state governor then, he must have also learned from experience. And whatever he gathered there, which has now become an opportunity for him to improve upon. And I think that is why probably the president found it worthy, given by his experience from one of the states that is most affected, an issue of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping, to come and undertake this responsibility. Now, I'm not making a case for him, but given by these statistics and performances that I have highlighted here, I think we need to give it to them. I don't work with Minister of Defense, but again, the truth must be said. Certain things we must learn to take politics away from national development and national security. If there is good report and performance, we should also be able to applaud them. These things I've mentioned here, he couldn't have achieved it alone without a collaborative effort. Now, reaching out to other countries through diplomatic discussions, bilateral agreements, ensuring that they come in to see where they can lend out their voice, I think is a good development. Whatever they have said that he has done as a state governor, he has the opportunity to correct them and prove to the world that he never meant otherwise. If from what they said he did as a state governor, or having made pronouncement, they appear to be negative, and then he's here now proving that, look, I'm not in support of bandits. Who else? How do you even conclude to say a man from a state that is devastated and terribly affected by the conduct of these bandits, and the activities, their criminal activities, and then the economy is shut down from the state. They say he cannot perform as the governor, and then he is now being happy to see he's going to be supportive of such. It will never, no reasonable or sane governor will want to support. The truth is that he must have been overwhelmed, and then he calls for continuous dialogue, interactions, and collaborative efforts. Government alone cannot do it. The citizens also have their responsibility and role to play. Even the current sitting governor in Zamfara State, if he gives his own support in terms of working in synergy with the current defense minister and the defense ministry and the security architecture, he will seem to benefit them all, because he's privileged to have an illustrious son from those being appointed as a defense minister who was also there as a governor of the state.
Okay.
Given by itself, he will be able to, get more from the government. So I think there is need to give supportive hand to whoever is in place by any responsibility to ensure that these things are being addressed by collaborative efforts and what have you.
All right, Doctor.
Thank you.
And just before we let you go, if you had an audience with the National Security Advisor today, what one thing would you tell them to prioritize in order to make sure that the country, Nigeria, doesn't become, a breeding ground for foreign powers who are engaging in a theater of war?
Well, there were part of the challenge that brought about most of this in the north. That it was heightened by poverty, bad leadership, unemployment, and what have you. That's why the north is more affected. And then because they are vulnerable and available to be recruited by these insurgents. Now, foreign interventions coming in wouldn't have been a good development, but if a system is overwhelmed, then definitely there has to be. So if I have a privilege of meeting the NSA, he's a great man. His experience from the police, his performance from the EFCC attests to that fact that he's a man willing to also reach out, collaborate, and he's doing quite a lot. The president has so much confidence in him, and we have seen it. The deliverables and the results we are getting. It's not a one-time show. You cannot finish it under just within a year. The issues, the challenges are enormous, but he's doing his best. So my take, if I'm privileged to meet with him, is to strengthen a grassroots insecurity, intelligence gathering, and reaching out, engaging the communities, because crime is local. And getting the communities and the grassroots people involved and the local authorities will provide a lot of intelligence. Remember that nobody comes from, most of these bandits are within the mining sites, the local areas, the forested zones, and what have you. So the current passage of an approval of a Nigerian forest guard is a good development in that effect. Of course, that automatically means that they are trying to use the grassroots base as a model, towards addressing this issue. So there's need to do more of that, bring in more of the informal sector, empower them. Now that we have the deacon and producing the local arms and all that. License them, if the informal sector within the security setting can be strengthened also to join in this effect from the grassroots level, and then you can get more. It's all about intelligence gathering and managing it effectively and ensuring that they deliver, for value and anticipated results. Thank you.
Well, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us this morning for this discussion here on The Morning Show. Dr. Agaba Iduh Fidel, thank you so much for joining us.